Welcome to the first live edition of the ASUN Gameday Podcast. We are here on site at the Kennesaw State Convocation Center. Jordan Griffitt, William Hall. William, this is what traveling talent looks like now. Look at us.
I feel
we
like
do live in the area, but
this going too much information. We're on the road. We're traveling. We worked hard for this.
Absolutely.
And we're finally here. I mean, I'm excited.
I'm beyond excited. I'm jittery for this game.
Oh.
Kennesaw State, the #1 seed, earning the right to host throughout the entire postseason against the #2 seeded Liberty Flames. We've been waiting for this rematch since the previous game 2 weeks ago. Don't want to give away too much, but we will give away the Bob Veneta Trophy at the end of this game today. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be the Kennesaw State Owls' best season in D1 program history, or again, the historic Liberty Flames who have dominated the ASUN since their arrival? There's a lot to get to. But first,
there's a lot to get to.
We'll talk about that game. But this is our last time talking about the men's tournament or the men's season. So let's go through the preseason polls real quick. Kind of lay out what happened and how we were wrong, how wrong we were about some things, and how right we were about some things. So let's look.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. Let's look at the coaches poll. That's what the one we're going to look at specifically. Media, get that out of here. I don't care. This is the coaches poll. Starting at number 1, 10 first-place votes was the Liberty Flames, 192 total points. At number 2, Jacksonville. They had 3 first-place votes by the coaches. Number 3, Jacksonville State. Both of those teams missing the postseason. Interesting.
They were close. They were close.
Very close, yes.
And they were 11-12 when it played out. But, again, coming in, 2 and 3 to not even being in the final 10 that made it.
Right. FGCU coming in at number 4. And then North Florida at number 5, 1 first-place vote, 127 total points. Followed by Lipscomb, also tied with Bellarmine for 6. Those teams kind of finished right around there in that area. Kennesaw State, guys, the number 1 team in the league this year at number 8 by the coaches. Number 9, Austin Peay in their first year. They weren't able to make the tournament. And then maybe, I think, one of the more impressive turnarounds as well, EKU down at number 10. 87 total votes. They get the 3 seed in the tournament.
Now this is where it gets interesting, because you just hit 10, and so you got 4
that's
more
teams.
You got 4 more teams that preseason.
Yes,
they were picked to be done. So who do we have in the preseason?
So number 11, we had Central Arkansas.
Okay.
Number 12, the Stetson Hatters, guys. The Stetson Hatters. They get the 4 seed. They hosted the first game against the Lipscomb Bisons. 13, the Queens Royals. Coming from D2 to D1, they get a win. What an incredible season for Queens. Coming into the Convo, playing the number 1 seed. They did fall, but so much credit has to be given to that entire squad over there in Charlotte, North Carolina. Number 14, the team picked dead last, by a good margin, by the way, 37 total votes, the North Alabama Lions.
Dead last.
Dead last. Preseason.
Number 6 seed.
Number 6.
Postseason.
One of the hottest teams going into the tournament.
Right. I mean, if I had to pick the, surprises or the things I didn't expect coming in, and I don't remember. I don't think I even voted in the media poll, because we threw that out. So if I did, we threw it out already, so it doesn't matter. But the North Alabama Lions, they clearly exceeded. I mean, probably not their expectations. You're going to every season expecting to do well, but
a tremendous story.
Right, but you look at what they were. The play that they had, Jakari Lane, Daniel Ortiz, the team was great. So they definitely weren't the 14th best team, obviously, when things played out. They had a great season.
Unbelievable season. We want to talk about the biggest surprise team of the season. But first, let's get to this tournament, the top 10 seeds. Let's see who actually got in compared to the preseason polls and how we exactly got here to the Owls and the Flames. So what do you got for me, William?
So first round action started last Monday. We started out. We had a 9-10 game here in the Convocation Center between Queens, 9th seed, FGCU, the 10th seed. The Royals won 61-55. We also had North Florida and Bellarmine, who played each other. They played the last Friday of the regular season. They turned around and played again on that Monday of the first round of the tournament. They had that game in Lynchburg, first round. Bellarmine won 76-74. Bellarmine was an 8th seed. North Florida was a 7th seed. So
the Justin Betts shot, the Kawhi Leonard shot.
I mean, I think that's – we've had 2 really, really good shots in this postseason so far. One of them was in this building. But I think that one, obviously, that Justin Betts shot.
Kyle Rhodes shot is also up there.
The Kyle Rhodes shot is up there, too. But that Justin Betts shot, that was everywhere on social that night.
Chris Youngblood, almost half quarter.
I think that on Scott Van Pelt, that was the best thing he saw that day. Was Justin Betts shot against North Florida. So that was our first round action. Moving into the quarterfinals, number 1 seed, as you mentioned before, Kennesaw State. Queens came here 67-66. That number 9 Queens, I think that number is just a number.
Came down to the very final second, the very final shot of that game. So
that was a game.
Some missed free throws could have been the peril for Kennesaw State, but they're able to survive and advance, and to the next round they go.
Another one of those regular season finales that turned into a first postseason matchup. Lipscomb and Stetson faced off again in DeLand that Friday of the regular season. They went into overtime. They came in. Stetson was the 4th seed, hosted Lipscomb as the 5 seed. 83-70, the Bisons got the win.
I think that was the game that we looked at going into the tournament and said, okay, right away, that's going to be the matchup to watch. Yep. Anyone who was there, that was an incredible game. Lipscomb comes away with that one. That was a team that I actually predicted going to the finals, coming into the postseason. With Kennesaw State, we kind of had that where you are in the bracket. Can you advance to the final? But Lipscomb, man.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah.
J.O.?
Hey, J.O. is...
It's J.O.'s world. We're just living in it.
First team all conference. We called it, though. He's a baller. He's a baller.
Yes.
Liberty, a 2-seed, hosted Bellarmine, who got in off that fantastic shot in our other quarterfinal matchup that was held in Lynchburg. 76-56 in favor of the Flames. I think Liberty got a chance to bounce back from that game they lost in last year's semifinals to Bellarmine. 20-point victory, punched their ticket to the semis this year.
Great.
And the final quarterfinal matchup we had was Eastern Kentucky, 3rd seed, hosting number 6 North Alabama. 73-48 in favor of the Colonels. That defense was on point.
Listen, you can't get me to say a bad word about North Alabama in that program. But EKU that night.
I think Kozar had 6 blocks.
My goodness. LeBron James could have been on the other side, and they would have locked him down. Like they were so incredible on defense that day. It was truly incredible to watch in person, being on the sideline for that one. EKU, man, for that game. Woo!
Yeah. Moving into our semifinals on Thursday, Kennesaw State, 1 seed, Lipscomb the 5 seed, 80-71. I think that score, it's a 9-point win, and they won the game. But the flurry at the end from Lipscomb, the way they closed that game out, I think it kind of looked like it was going to be Kennesaw State, and they were in control. And then Lipscomb came firing.
Yeah.
They were knocking down everything towards the end of that game.
Both teams gave each other in that second half their absolute best. Kennesaw State just happened to have the lead for most of that game.
And they got the shot you
and they got the shot that goes in from Chris Youngblood, the shot of the year for them. And that was another incredible game. Lipscomb just would not go away. They're a team to watch for the future.
And another shot that we were talking about, the Kyle Rhodes shot in our other semifinal game, Liberty and Eastern Kentucky, 79-73, and the Flames won. But that shot, I think it was a 3-point game, and Kyle Rhodes takes that step to the left, knocks down that 3, makes it a 6-point game, and I think he kind of put it away at that point, made it kind of tougher.
Clutch.
But that game was a game to say that Eastern Kentucky, I think, has put themselves in the position going into next season to say they've got to be clearly one of the favorites.
For sure. I mean, obviously Jacksonville State and Liberty departing. You're going to have Kennesaw State for another year at Eastern Kentucky. Given, player retention is a whole nother thing nowadays.
I don't know how that's going to
go. So you never know who's returning. But on paper, if both of these squads, Kennesaw State and Eastern Kentucky, return for another year, man. Lipscomb also in there as well. I mean, there's a lot of teams. North Alabama's going to get much better, but Eastern Kentucky, that is a squad to deal with in a elite program. So both these teams ending up here, the number 1 and number 2 seed. We didn't predict both top seeds would come into this final. Coming into the postseason, we said, hey, one of these is probably going to get knocked off because that's how deep the league has been.
I did say that.
We both did.
Oh, yeah, one of those two wasn't going to make it all the way through. I think they got tested. I think the stronger test for Kennesaw State came in the Queens matchup. Although Lipscomb gave them a push, I think that Queens game was tougher.
Right.
And I would say Liberty's tougher challenge clearly came in the semis against Eastern Kentucky. So both of them have gone through a game where, it was tough battling. But they're here. So, I mean, it's 1 and 2. So, I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
I think when you go down to the Final Four, you look at the semis, it was the 4 best teams of the season. Also, Stetson they had the number 4 seed, so obviously they had a case to be one of the top 4 teams. But Lipscomb, Kennesaw State, Liberty, and EKU all battling it out. We are here on site for the final. In an hour and a half, we are going to tip off between the Flames and the Owls. But before we do that, before we talk about the Flames, then we go into our interviews. We're able to talk to Coach Richie McKay and Coach Amir Abdurrahim for the Owls. What was the biggest surprise of the season? Before we start talking about this game back here, what was the biggest surprise of the men's basketball season to you?
Just one?
You're the men's basketball contact.
He's
him. So you
got a lot of surprises.
As many surprises as you want. This is our show. Okay?
I think one, I already mentioned it. North Alabama was a surprise. I mean, I don't think it's I don't think that's any disrespect to their program. Coach Pujol we had on the podcast a few weeks ago. It was a surprise. I would not have thought that they were going to be as much of a force as they were. But Daniel Ortiz was back, playing amazing. It got Ja'Cory Lane. Giving them that. And I think halfway through the conference play, he really took off, and it was like, oh, he's that guy.
He's that guy.
And KJ Johnson transferring in. I mean, he dropped 30 in one of those games towards the end.
Yeah.
Damian Forrest. I think that that was a surprise. Just again, you just laid it out. They were picked 14th by the coaches, and they ended up finishing 6th. So I don't think that's far of a stretch. So that's one. Probably my biggest surprise if I looked at things. I was like, oh, North Alabama. Okay, all right. What about you?
North Alabama's a great one. Now, we have to recognize them because they're playing Kennesaw State. Now, it wasn't I don't want to be the –
So you're gonna sit here and call the team that you picked.
That's where I was going with this.
That's not a surprise. You can't. Don't, this is your surprise. Don't say like a collective surprise.
All right. Well, then I'll leave it for you. I'll toss it back to you.
I could be surprised by that because I didn't pick them initially. Now I've been riding with them for a while. Like, it's my friends on Twitter won't let me. They won't let me forget. But what's really your surprise? Because I'm not gonna count that one.
My two big outside of North Alabama. That's probably my answer as well. I knew EKU was good. I did not think that they were as elite as they were coming into this season. Devontae Blanton taking another big step. Michael Moreno doing what he does. But then guys like Isaiah Kozart coming in. Cooper Robb having another incredible year. They looked like a team that had the potential to win it all. And, they're just a few points from being here. Right. They are not far off from the top two teams that are going to be playing today.
I've got another one. I think you may agree on this one. Stetson.
Yes, that was my other one. The Stetson Hatters. You lose your number one scorer and you get better? I don't know how that works. Luke Brown comes in. Blackman. Swinson. Panzo. There's so many guys that started contributing that were flying under the radar. And then at a certain point, about halfway through the year, everyone just has to look around and recognize, like, wait, no, these guys are good.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah.
I know. In between the season,
we keep beating us.
Yeah, we got to say these are our 1 and 2, and then it was like who's 3, and then there was a time when Stetson was a clear third. I mean, they came into the postseason as the 4. They were close to being the 3. I mean, there were several scenarios that could have played out where they were entering as the 3rd seed. So, they turned some heads as well. I think. Stetson had a strong year. I think if they can, whatever they can bring back, again, like you said, the retention, not sure how that'll go, but this year was a great year down in DeLand.
Yeah, Coach Johnny Jones had to be in consideration for Coach of the Year, but Coach of the Year was won by Coach Amir Abdur-Rahim, and not in my opinion, but maybe in yours, maybe the biggest surprise of the season.
It was a surprise for me because I didn't pick them. You picked them, so I can't let you say it was a surprise. I didn't think they were going to be as good as they are. Coming in, knowing that they were the only team that was coming back with their starting 5, so you had that growth and you had the same player, that core coming back. I think that was important, and to see it happen was okay. You put it together. Like I'm a little surprised. Not as big of a surprise as UNA or Stetson, because Kennesaw State they hosted their first postseason game here last year against Eastern Kentucky. Yeah, went on the road. They gave Jacksonville State a challenge last year, so you could clearly see that the team is going in the right direction. So, but yeah, I'll put that on the surprise list.
In terms of, if you want to talk about pound for pound improvement from last year to this year, it's Kennesaw State, bar none. To be able to go from 9 wins to the upper echelon, the number 1 seed. I want to say the upper echelon. They were the top dog. The top dog in the ASUN. And we've been talking about, and every single coach that we've talked to this year has said this is the most talented, the most competitive, night in and night out league the ASUN has ever seen this season. Yeah. And they come away after last year, coming into this season, one of the most heavy player retention teams. I don't know if that is grammatically correct, but that's what I went with.
I know what you're trying to say.
Returning the most minutes, returning the most scoring, all of that, rebounding. Yeah. And they're able to get it done and beat Liberty on this home floor just 2 weeks ago to secure that number 1 seed. Not without their faults, not without their road bumps, UNF, Queens, EKU, but the improvement that they made from this year to last year to this year, pound for pound, is the most exponential in the league.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a surprise. Like, to me personally, not my biggest surprise, but clearly, you know, I don't think anybody was coming in saying, I mean, you just gave out the poll.
I did.
How many first place votes did they get?
0. 8th. They were picked 8th by the coaches. The coaches.
And they should know more than I know, right?
That's what they tell me. Also, preseason picks had FGCU and Kennesaw State. I do have to throw that out there. Call me a homer, whatever you want to call me. I did pick Kennesaw State to be in this game and win this game. I did not have Liberty. I was very wrong about that. And
I had Liberty, though.
You did.
So I think at this table, collectively, we were right.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Right. Yeah, if you take out FGCU in both of our equations,
yeah,
I got Liberty, you got Kennesaw State, and we've got Kennesaw State winning based on that math. I'm just saying, you know,
That's how this works.
I'm just trying to do the math.
That's how this works.
Piece it together.
Never get it wrong here at ASUN Gameday. Never once. Never once ever. All right, we talked about the league this year. Now let's talk about the game, starting with the Liberty Flames. They come into this one as the number 2 seed, 26-7 overall record, 15-13 in the ASUN, identical as Kennesaw State, but they play a very different brand of basketball team that slows the pace down. One of the best three-point shooting teams, obviously, with a guy like Darius McGee, also becoming the ASUN all-time leading scorer coming into this season. And, man, the GOAT, the ASUN GOAT, Darius McGee.
Is the ASUN GOAT?
And I think we both walked away with seeing Darius McGee in person for the first time here a few weeks ago in awe of this guy. And it's so much different seeing it in person and saying, this guy is the best I've ever seen. The best college player in person I've ever seen with my own eyes. He's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I told you after that game, like, coming out of that game at that moment, I felt like Kennesaw State was our best team. I mean, they had won, but I told you that seeing Darius McGee, he clearly was the best player on the court. Watching him, he's the best player I've seen just watching him play the game. Like, GOAT. Easy.
GOAT. The man.
I mean, he's topping our record book for several categories, not only all-time leading scorer, and that where he's sitting at, it's going to stand for a while. I mean, he broke a record that has been in place for, 20, 30 years. So, you know, I would imagine his is going to stay for about as long. And I think that with that team, as we saw just a few days ago, the problem that you will face is if he does or does not do what he's going to do, one of those other players can step up and punish you. And it can come from unexpected places. I mean, you had the freshman drop 25 against EKU, and you know, who saw that in the scouting report? Who's prepared for that? And Kyle Rode. If Kyle Rode gets going, or I think if anybody gets going along with Darius McGee, because I feel like eventually, whether he's on from the beginning or it takes him a while, he's going to get his. I think he had 7 or 8 points in the first half against EKU, and he ended with 29. So he's going to get his. But that team is built in a way that they've got other weapons around him, and he is a weapon that I don't know if that's even a strong enough word to consider what he is on the court.
He is the weapon.
Yes. So you've got the weapon and other weapons. You're pretty dangerous. That's a problem.
Yeah. And good news for Liberty fans, Darius McGee loves playing the Owls. 43 points last time here in the Convocation Center. Also scored 40 in the previous game going back to last season. So he saves his best for when they need it against Kennesaw State. Scored 43 in the loss, 13 of 25 in that game. But really what the question is who's going to be that extra person to step up? And you kind of already alluded to what I was going to ask. We're going to ask some burning questions throughout the rest of this podcast. Our first one starts with Liberty. Who's going to be, who or what will be the X factor for the Liberty Flames if they want to get a win here today, William?
I think my X factor I would go for is I'm going to say Kyle Rode.
Okay.
He's at 10 points per game. But when he gives them more than that, if Kyle Rhodes in the 15 to 20 points per game, I'm going to think that it's I'm just laying it out here, but I feel like if Kyle Rhodes is in the 15 to 20 points per game, Kennesaw State has had a problem. If we look back at that box score and we're like, oh, Kyle Rhodes ended with 20, that's going to be a problem.
I think you can book it. If Kyle Rhodes has 20, Liberty's winning the championship.
Yeah, I think he is.
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, Colin Porter was amazing. He had 25. He averages just under 8. By the averages, I don't think that's going to happen again. So, but I think I'm more worried about Kyle Rhodes than I am, and it could be my fault. Porter may come out here and drop 30, right. But I think Kyle Rhodes to me is that X factor that if he's in that 15 to 20 range, Kennesaw State had a problem, and they probably lost this game.
I think that's a great point. He was my X factor on our podcast with the first game this season. 11 in the last game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, not a bad game, but didn't really get going until later. And that one was kind of quiet first half. The opposite of Darius McGee, who had an incredible. I mean, I think he scored the first 12 points for the Liberty Flames in the first half. Mine is going. I'm going to go with Colin Porter, the true freshman point guard. Has started day one since he got on campus for a championship level team. That, regardless, is incredibly impressive by itself. And I'm not banking on another 25-point performance for EKU, but they need Colin Porter to not have the same performance he had against Kennesaw State last time.
Yes.
7 points, 5 turnovers, really struggled matched up against Terrell Burden. That was a problem for them. And if he just doesn't do that, if he just gives you those normal averages, takes care of the basketball, gives you some threes when you need them, Colin Porter's going to be an X factor in this game. We can't even say Darius McGee's an X factor because we know what we're getting from him. If it's 45, if he scores 45, nobody's surprised. And that's what's incredible about that. That's how great he is. But Colin Porter, if he's able to get going, hit a couple of threes, that's going to change the entire landscape of this game. So Colin Porter, that's my X factor for this one. I think if he has a good game, Liberty wins this one.
That's fair. I mean, I was going there, but I don't think that's not a bad pick. So that's fair. I'll let you have that one. That's
okay,
fair.
Thank you. You let me have it.
I'm gonna let you have that one.
Okay.
Because I just clearly said that he wasn't gonna be X factor. You turn around and pick him in short. So you're either trying to make me look bad or you're just,
yes, that's it.
That's what I expect out of you.
Right. Yeah. We're turning on each other already.
Yeah, right now.
Treason on the ASUN Gameday Podcast.
We just take the ship down.
Well, we've talked plenty about the Liberty Flames, but here to talk more about it, we talked with head coach Richie McKay yesterday. We'll play the audio for you here on the ASUN Gameday Podcast. Welcome back to the ASUN Gameday Podcast. I'm Jordan Griffitt, joined by Liberty men's head coach Richie McKay. Coach, thanks for joining me today. My first question for you, go back to the EKU game. A lot of deficits for you guys, but you chipped away piece by piece and you're able to get that win. What are your overall thoughts on that?
Well, my first thought is EKU is a terrific team. Coach Hamilton, his staff, they've done a phenomenal job because they are really good. They'll be really competitive in next year's ASUN race. I can assure you of that. Secondly, just grateful for our guys. I think we've been tested in the non-conference, and then again in what is, in my opinion, the most talented ASUN opponents that we played in our 5 years in the league. I think there's terrific coaches in this league, and I think we were able to endure some of the adversity and play through it, and ultimately came out with a win, and are very grateful for that.
And speaking of your players, obviously Darius McGee. My question for you: when he first stepped on campus as a freshman, a true freshman, did you know he had ASUN all-time scoring potential like this?
No, and anyone that says that, I'd put him through a lie detector test. He showed up 5'9", 145. Darius had actually went to go see him. I went to go see my son play, Gabriel, who's on our team, and they were playing against Darius. So it wasn't. I wasn't even recruiting him. And after the first quarter, I thought, oh my goodness, who is this kid? So we knew he had a propensity to score the basketball. What we didn't know is what an incredible young man he is, and how hard he was going to be willing to work and sacrifice in order to be great. And then lastly, Jordan, he's just an exceptional teammate. Like he's helped grow our program in way more than just on the court statistics, points scored or games won. He is an influencer with his character and his humility.
Obviously the biggest game of the year coming into the final against Kennesaw State. Do you think playing them in this place, not just a couple weeks ago, is going to help you guys in terms of that experience coming into the final tomorrow?
Well, who's the schedule maker? Because we would have rather played them in Lynchburg, but our only crack at them this year was in Raucous Owl Gymnasium. Not sure what they name it, but they had a great crowd and their team is terrific. So I haven't been here once before. Maybe it'll help. I'll let you know after the game if we get a chance to talk. But I just think it's a privilege to be in a championship game. We've been fortunate enough to be there before, and I think to beat a team like Kennesaw, we're going to need our very best. So hopefully we're rested enough and prepared enough to be able to withstand what I think is a terrific basketball team.
Well, talking about being there before, you guys obviously have in the past few years. Haven't played a true road game since 2019 in the tournament, but here you guys are on a true road game, but you have that finals experience. How do you think that finals experience to be able to win a chip is going to help you guys tomorrow?
Yeah, Jordan, good question. I'm not quite sure. However many times we've been in the championship, I think it's 5 of our last 6 years if you go back to the Big South days. Ironically, we've only been at home once. So we've been on the road or at a neutral venue and during the COVID year. And I think our guys think of it more as an opportunity, regardless of where you get to play it. It's really hard to get here, and we're aware of that. Very appreciative, and hopefully you see that expression of gratitude in the way we play.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you, Jordan.
Well, welcome back to ASUN Game Day. Jordan Griffitt, William Hall. A big thank you to Coach Richie McKay, the famous Kendall, here on the ASUN Game Day Podcast, talking with us. Well, we talked about Liberty. Let's talk about them Owls, the #1 seed coming into the tournament and hosting this finals. We're here on site at the KSU Convocation Center.
I mean, they're making some noise.
Yeah, we're starting to get some action back here.
I had to put the headphones on. This is not my thing.
You're not a headphone guy.
I'm not a headphone guy.
But guess who has the headphones on?
What you did there. I like what you did there.
The Owls, they got those headphones on. You'll hear more about that with our local William Hall talking to Coach Amir Abdur-Rahim. But let's talk about the Owls before we get into that. I have it written down here. I wanted to make sure I said it this way because it's been this way for Kennesaw State. It's been death by 1,000 cuts all year long. You don't know who's going to give you the business night in and night out. Is it Terrell Burton? Is it Spencer Rogers? Is it Chris Youngblood, Damon Robinson? That's what's made this team so special. And that's what's led them to so much success. They are connected, just like Liberty, two incredible teams, two incredibly coached teams, no less. And they also finally got some postseason recognition. You look at Chris Youngblood getting first team all-conference, Terrell Burton on the second team, and Brandon Stroud winning Defensive Player of the Year. Not a huge surprise right there. That guy's been a pest all year long, his entire career here in the ASUN. For Kennesaw State, it's been such a special year, and again, the depth of the entire starting five, plus a guy like Kason Jennings, Quincy Adamakoya. There have been so many contributors to this team. One win 4 years ago, Coach Amir Abdur-Rahim's first year. Now you're sitting at 15, championship final, and you're hosting. I mean, that's the stuff of true stories there.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's a key with Kennesaw State. I think we talked about it through the year. I mean, just in our office, every week when we were looking at our Player of the Week awards, and we were like, nobody from Kennesaw State's going to win, but I still think they're the best team. Does that mean anything?
Brandon Stroud was the only one who won a few.
He got two.
He got two, and he wasn't even on an all-conference team.
Yeah, and he was Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive Player,
and not on one of the 3 all-conference teams. It happened.
Yeah.
But
not our doing.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Coaches, not our doing.
I mean, you know, we didn't. You know, but I think that is just a way to look at the depth of that team, that they didn't have week in and week out for the most of the season that one guy who was just dropping 25 to 30 or just was having some amazing game that singled that person out. It was team success. They're winning. And it's like you said, you just didn't know who you were going to get it from, and it was coming at all these different angles, so you couldn't key on one. And I think that was to their success. I think we talked about before the Liberty game a few weeks ago. I asked a question on the podcast that if McGee goes for 30-40, I think Kendrell actually set in on that one. I think that's the one, and I asked you too. Yeah, the world famous Kendall was on that one, and I asked it, do they need somebody to score with, if McGee drops 30-40, do they need somebody to drop 30-40? it was like, no, they don't.
No,
because
they never
They just play their game, and they're fine.
That's not their identity.
Yeah.
And they know that. That's the one word that always comes out of this squad is the identity of this team is bone. They also go by that, B1. We've seen that all year. We've seen that the past couple of years, but now the wins start to trickle in. All of a sudden, people start paying a little more attention than they have in years past. A little more fans start coming to the games, a little more media, all that.
I got a question. Just,
Sure.
I listen as you talk, and then I just I formulate questions. That's how I do.
Okay.
Because I'm a great journalist.
Big J
broadcast
journalist.
Is it bone or B1?
It's bone, and you break it down. It's spelled B1. So it's the word bone, but you B1.
I never knew what the bone meant.
Okay.
But now I know.
Now you know.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. We're good to move on?
Yes. We can proceed.
Really bogged us down right there, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
just,
That's okay. You got to formulate the questions that, your journalism
As they
head.
come, I got to get
Exactly.
it out. I got those answers. I need to know about these hashtags.
Your creative bone.
My creative B1.
We're here on site. Anything can happen. Anything's going right now here on Facebook Live. Jordan Griffitt, William Hall. All right, let's talk about the X factors. Who will be the X factor for Kennesaw State in this one, or what?
I think there's the biggest factor is this crowd that's going to be in this building. I think that's the biggest overall factor that's going to help them. I think that's what allowed them to bounce back from 11 or 14 down or whatever it was a few weeks ago.
14 down, win by 7.
Yeah, the crowd played a huge part in that. But I think on the court, I think Damon Robinson is the X factor. I think his presence down low, if he can get going like he did against Queens when they really needed that. I mean, that game was a 1-point win. He had 24 points in that game. I think that's a X factor, something that you're just not looking for. Oh, he had 24 points. He was the leading scorer. I think if he has a game like that, where he's able to assert himself early and often to be that option to go down low and get even against Lipscomb, there were a lot of points where they dumped the ball down low and let him go to work. He was making it happen.
And Lipscomb has Asana Sajula and Ognasovic. So those aren't bad guys he's going against. And Liberty, kind of more of a methodical center by committee kind of thing for their big man. Kyle Rode, kind of a non-traditional forward guard. You have Shiloh Robinson. You have a lot of guys that can body with Damon Robinson, but if he's able to get going early, get some other guys into foul trouble possibly.
Yeah, and I think in that game against Queens he was scoring. I think Lipscomb early was showing that he could be, and then he kicks it back out. So he was able to draw that attention, draw that defense a little bit, and just let the perimeter shooters go to work. So he'd be my X factor, I think, going into this game.
All right, we talked about that during the break. I was also going to go with Damon Robinson, but I got an even better one. I'm doubling up on my previous X factor. Once again, this X factor is going to be Spencer Rogers, fifth-year senior for Kennesaw State, been there with the program 3 of those years. In the last game, he had 11 points, and I said if he scores double digits, Kennesaw State would have won that game. They won that game by 7, down 14 early in the second half. We're able to battle back and get that win, but throw that game out the window. These are 2 different teams than just a couple of weeks ago. That was an instant classic type of game. But Spencer Rogers, if he's able to dial him up from deep, get this crowd going early, this guy's a tenacious defender. He can cause problems for you, whether he's in the starting lineup or coming off the bench. Because another X factor in this game, Kaysen Jennings did not play in the last game, folks.
That's true.
He will be active and ready to play in this one. That is going to be big for Kennesaw State. One of the best 6 men, if you want to. He started a lot of games this year for Kennesaw State. I don't even want to call him a 6-man anymore. If he's able to get going as well, both of those guys, Kennesaw State, we talked about the depth. They have a lot of guys that can give you double digits and a lot of guys that can hit big-time clutch shots. I expect Spencer Rogers to hit the shot of the game for Kennesaw State when it comes down to the wire.
I like it.
All right. We got through our X factors for both teams.
We did.
All right. Let's get to our A+ interview. How about that?
The A+ interview?
A+ interview. Mine was obviously not as great. I mean, Coach McKay did a phenomenal job.
We're saying you didn't do that.
No.
Oh, you brought it
No,
down.
he carried me. This interview, you guys both carry each other.
All right, teamwork.
Yeah. Coach Amir Abdur-Rahim stopped by the podcast to talk to our local William Hall. We'll get to that here on the ASUN Gameday Podcast.
All right, here with Kennesaw State men's basketball head coach Amir Abdur-Rahim.
Yep.
Coach, congratulations on historic season.
Thank you.
Record-setting season.
Thank you.
But I got to let you know about another record. You might not know that you already broke it now.
Okay.
You set the record for the most guest appearances on the podcast at 2. So the mark isn't very high, but you got the record.
Hey, I'll take it, man. I'll take it.
So I need to know which record means the most to you.
Man, of course this one, man. It means the most, man. To be here with you, man, more than one time, man, I'll take it all day.
Appreciate it.
No
Appreciate
doubt.
it. You're ASUN Coach of the Year.
Yep.
We talked a couple of days ago. You told me that that's a staff award.
For sure.
Talk to me about how your staff has helped you and what they really mean to you this season.
Yeah, I think it's really important, when you're in a position of leadership in anything, coaching, Fortune 500 company, you need eyes to help you see yourself. You have so much coming across your desk, that you just, you can't pay attention to everything. And so sometimes you can lose sight of, things that really matter, right? So I've been fortunate to have Ben Fletcher, Persian Williams, William Small, and Griffin McCone on my staff. And, the best thing about these guys, man, they tell me the truth, and a coach, a leader needs to hear that. He needs to hear the truth. So just really appreciative of those guys, not sitting here as Coach of the Year without them. To me, it's a staff thing.
Yep. So you always talk about the headphones being on, keeping them on. So this week, that noise canceling on those headphones, how high has it been on, and how tight are you keeping them on?
Man, you know what? It's been on 10 on that noise canceling, right? And it's been good. It's a little bit more of a challenge this week because now instead of it being 10 teams playing and, the league and the other coaches are talking about 10 teams, now you're talking about 4 teams. Now you're talking about the final 2 and us and Liberty. It's been a little bit more of a challenge, but, now it's habits, right? Like we know that the congratulations and the pats on the back are going to come, and we're able to take them, be humble, but still stay focused on our work.
Mm-hmm. So the matchup, you against Liberty again. This is a rematch of a game we saw just a few weeks ago in the same building. So what can you take from that matchup? Do you bring any of that into this game?
Oh, absolutely. You're always trying to get better, and that's really been our thing since, honestly all year, but really put a bigger emphasis on it middle to late January, right? When you kind of saw like it was us and them, right? And not getting too far ahead. I asked a question to the guys. I told you guys this before. I think it was like January 16th or 18th. I said, man, whose end goal was it to be tied for first place on January 18th? Nobody raised their hand. I said, okay. This is about getting better. So tomorrow is still about getting better for us. Get this team finishing out the right way, and so we take little things from that previous game. Yeah, we were able to win, but we were able to learn from that game. We were able to grow from that game. We were able to get better. And to beat them again, I told Coach McKay after that game, man, there's still the motto of consistency in our league, right? And so we've got to be even better than we were the last time in order to get another one.
The team that's coming in, your team that's going to come into tomorrow's game,
Yep.
How different is that team? Is there any difference in that team than the team that played them a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I think so. I think that team is a little bit more mature than they were 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And not just mature, emotionally mature. That game was really the first really high-level game that we had played in this building, right? And there were points in time in that game where we let the crowd, right, get the best of us, where we kind of got out of character offensively and defensively. And now, we played probably 3 or 4 more games that had that same atmosphere, and we've been able to grow and be better in that environment. But again, like I said, I told these guys, the respect level for Liberty is at an all-time high, but at the end of the day, it's about us. We've got to be the best versions of ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, well, for sure.
It's been extremely exciting to watch this team, the
Thank
growth
you.
over the last couple of years. So good luck coaching. We'll see you tomorrow.
My man, thank you.
All right, William. We've talked about both teams. We've heard from both coaches.
Both coaches. So what are we doing here?
What's that leave? What's that? What are we playing for today? What are they playing for?
What are they playing for? I mean, I feel like we're in it too, but what are they playing for?
Let's show you guys.
That's the question.
Let's show you guys.
I mean, is that good enough? Does that work?
Look at that. Look at that beaut.
I'm jealous. I want one of these.
One of these two teams is going to hoist this trophy in just a few hours. We're 1 hour to the minute away from tip-off here in the Convocation Center, on site in Kennesaw State. Jordan Griffitt, William Hall. All right, winding down to game time. A little more activity. I know the trophy's in the way, but there's still plenty of activity. We see players warming up right now. Music's going. Both teams are here, and they are ready to throw down. All right, final burning question for you, William. We talked about X Factors. We talked about the rest of the league earlier in the first segment. It's our last segment of this one. Our burning question: who has more pressure coming into today's game, the Owls or the Flames?
That's a good question. There's so many ways you can look at it. I mean, is there, as the fans are running?
Yeah, a bunch of fans running around. So
the energy is here,
sprinting through.
I mean, is there pressure on the team? Is there more pressure on the team that's never been here, and you're here and you want to get it done, or is there more pressure for the team that's been here 4 times, or in their 4th time, and they wanted the other 3, and this is like business as usual? I think there's a little more pressure on Liberty, and I think it's a little more. I mean, they're not going. They have no external pressure. I think they're not worried about it, but I think that the expectation is more on them. I think you would say people are more expecting Liberty to win this game.
Right.
So I would say there's more pressure on them because of that. I don't think themselves, but I think that just people thinking that it's Liberty. I mean, I think in Kennesaw State, although they've had amazing success this season, if they were not to win it and they lose to this historically good team, you know, is there less? I think there's less pressure because you've got Liberty. They've only lost to Kennesaw State once. Granted, it's the last time the 2 teams played in this building just a few weeks ago. So we're talking about this year's squads on both sides.
Yeah.
But I think the pressure is more on Liberty.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you here. Now you look at Kennesaw State and say, hey, they are the #1 seed coming into this. They're hosting the game. They should be the one with more pressure. I don't see it that way. You look at the other side, the Liberty Flames, 9-1 against Kennesaw State. The only time they lost was here in the combo just a couple of weeks ago. Yes, they're brand new teams. Yes, they're different teams than just a couple of weeks ago. But you look at the Flames. History is on their side. They have dominated in the ASUN since they have been here. Also, I mean, it's not necessarily something that's highlighted too much for us. Last game in the conference, they will be moving to Conference USA. So they want to end on the right note. Kennesaw State still has another year. Take that for what you will.
I can be biased. I can, you know.
There you go. Kennesaw State, if they lose this game, you could still walk away, in my opinion, and think this was such a successful year and feel good about it.
Yeah.
For the Liberty Flames, I'm not exactly sure if that's how it's going to come off, but still a spectacular year for both of these teams. I think you're going to look at, I'm being distracted. There's a lot of fans piling in to the combo right now. We started this last segment right at 2, and everybody is sprinting in. We got a lot of people filing in for this finals matchup. But yeah, I think the answer is the Liberty Flames. A lot more to lose for them, being the last game in the ASUN, but Kennesaw State still with 1 year left.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's and you laid out being the #1 seed. There is a certain expectation that comes along with that.
Yes.
But I mean, honestly, they're won because they beat Liberty. The way everything shaked out, same exact records. The only difference between the 2 teams is the head-to-head matchup. Does that equal more pressure, or is it? I don't know. I still lean Liberty having the more I don't know if pressure and expectations are the same thing, but I think the expectation, higher expectations on Liberty. I mean, it's clear in the coach's quote coming into the season, the expectations were there. They're preseason #1. They were picked to be here. They were picked to win it preseason. Right. Kennesaw State is overachieving. Does that instantly bring you more pressure, or are you just maintaining where you were and everything? Obviously, they're not looking at it like, we're just happy to be here. No, they want to win it.
Yeah.
These fans want them to win it. So they're not here to just play a game and just get a participation trophy.
No, neither one of these teams are here to do that at all. But you do look at the preseason poll, 8th in the coaches poll for Kennesaw State. You rock it all the way up to #1. Again, if it doesn't go their way, I think you can walk away with your head maybe a little higher than the Flames fans would. But regardless, we're going to have an instant classic here today. You can book it right now. Folks, we are less than an hour away from tip here in the Kennesaw State Convocation Center. Jordan Griffitt, William Hall. All right, it's about that time. We got to wrap it up here soon. Final game predictions. I'll start with you. What do you got? Gotta be careful here, fans.
I'm going to hear it either way.
You will.
But I think I've been saying it. I'm gonna stick with it. It's obviously, I saw them play a couple weeks ago in person. They did win. I think it's gonna be a great game. But I'm going with the home team again. I'm going with Kennesaw State.
Final score, what does this game look like for you?
5 points, maybe. I'm not good with the scores. I said the game was going to be in the 60s, and it ended up in the 80s last time. So, I'll say it's in the 70s. 75-68.
75-68, Kennesaw State. Okay. I do think this is going to be more of a defensive battle than the first game. You had Darius McGee do what he did. You had that incredible run from Kennesaw State in the middle of that second half. I don't think either of those things are going to happen twice. So I believe just by pure math, taking those runs and that Darius McGee run away, we're going to end up in the 60s here. I'm going 65-59 Kennesaw State. I'm going low today. I think we're going to see a much different ball game than we saw the first time around between these two squads. You're looking at Liberty. They only allow 60 points per game. So 68 is a lot ways above the season average that they allow. So that's my score, 65-59. Kennesaw State walks away with the win here in the Convocation Center. So we're both picking Kennesaw State.
We're both picking Kennesaw State.
It worked out last time.
It did.
So I'm sticking with my preseason pick.
It was.
The Kennesaw State Owls to take the trophy.
Yeah. We're here. I think the game is going to be great. I'm excited about it. A little bit, slightly bittersweet. This will be our final men's basketball championship under the leadership of our amazing commissioner, Ted Gumbard. But it's a celebration at the same time. So, Ted, congratulations, and also congratulations to our incoming commissioner, Jeff Bacon. Excited about what he's going to do when he takes over things here at the ASUN. But you're making history tonight. It's historic.
We will make history in just a few hours.
Yes.
Ted Gumbard will be in the building. Our new commissioner coming in, ushering in a new era this summer. It's going to be incredible. A lot of bright future ahead for the ASUN. And William, I think it's time we call it. Wrap it up.
I got to go get some shots up and warm up for the game.
We got to get some shots up. We got a lot of things to get done. We got to get into our all nice fancy suits and all that. Get our camera time in here. This is going to be on ESPN2. I can't believe I went the entire podcast without mentioning that. Linear ESPN2 today. It's going to be a great one.
It's going to be great.
The Owls versus the Flames. The winner walks away with this trophy. This was the ASUN Gameday Podcast live from the Kennesaw State Convocation Center. For Jordan Griffitt, William Hall, tune in just 1 hour for the Owls and the Flames. Peace.